Dear ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to say a few words about the Caucasus front of the Great War and its implications for Georgia. As of today, it's not exactly a common knowledge that the semi-forgotten Caucasus theater of the Great War of 1914-1918 played a crucial role in the creation of three modern nations of the South Caucasus, and specifically the restoration of Georgian statehood. Accordingly, in view of the above, the major goal of this presentation is to introduce fellow historians and fellow political scientists into the political and military background of the First World War, on the process of redrawing of political map of the region that happened in the 20th century. In 1914-1918, the South Caucasus became part of the Middle Eastern theater of the First World War. Although the most decisive battles were fought in Europe, the South Caucasus campaign was quite important for Ottoman Turkey, for the Russian Empire and Great Britain. Several years prior to the outburst of the war, a few powers had conflicting ambitions in the area. The Young Turk leadership of Ottoman Turkey, strongly influenced by Ittihadist, pan-Islamic and pan-Turanic ideas, was aiming at the creation of a vast empire that would include all Turkic and some non-Turkic speaking people. That empire was supposed to include the Russian Caucasus, the Crimea, the Russian Central Asia, the area of Volga and Kama with the Tatar-speaking population, and even partially Siberia and Chinese Xinjiang or Chinese East Turkestan. Russia, in turn, was interested in gaining access to the Mediterranean Sea by annexing the Straits, Bosporus and the Dardanelles, together with Constantinople, or by gaining a wide land bridge from the Caucasus to the Cilician coast, right here, under the pretext of protecting the Christian Armenians of Turkish Armenia and eastern Anatolia. However, while playing the Armenian card against Turkey, the Russian imperial government was reluctant to repeat its experience of the Russo-Turkish War of 1878 and create what they called another Bulgaria, this time in the Middle East. In order to secure the future Russian rule over the Armenian plateau and exclude the creation of an Armenian nation-state or any other nation-state in the region, St. Petersburg encouraged inter-ethnic tensions between Christian Armenians and Muslim Turks, and worked on establishing of Tigris-Euphrates Cossack Oblast that was to be settled by Kuban and Terek Cossacks, Yazid Kurds, and Russian Armenians as well. Being quite concerned with growing Russian ambitions in the East Mediterranean region and in the Middle East in general, the British leadership at the same time was willing to disintegrate the Ottoman Empire. One of the reasons for that was that the Ottoman Empire was getting closer and closer to the German Empire. However, the destruction of the Ottoman Empire was hardly possible without active participation of the Russian armies. Self-explanatory, Russia was expecting some concessions as the payment for her participation in the destruction of the Ottoman Empire. Despite the striving of both Great Britain and Russia for the so-called Ottoman succession, when the war broke out in Europe, the Triple Entente powers were hoping to keep Ottoman Turkey neutral for as long as possible, and to postpone its integration into German and Austro-Hungarian alliance. However, those hopes and the diplomatic overtures that followed ended up in vain. And finally, Ottoman Turkey decided to enter the World War on the side of Germany and Austria-Hungary. Indeed, the British government was reluctant to see Russian flag in the Bosporus and the Dardanelles, but way less it was prepared to see the German flag over there. On the 9th of August of the year 1914, Ottoman Turkey launched an attack on Russia. After a series of skirmishes, Russia declared war on Turkey on November the 2nd of the same year, and the Caucasus became a battleground. Within the 20-month period between the spring of 1915 and the fall of 1916, the Russian armies advanced into Turkish Armenia, Lazistan, and northern Iran, conquering vast territories. At the same time, British and French forces were slowly taking over the Ottoman Arab possessions in Mesopotamia and Palestine. At the end of 1916, the Russian General Staff went so far as to prepare several plans for the conquest of Constantinople. Here on this map we can see how everything was developing. We can see the invasion of the Ottoman units into Algeria and into northern Tow. And we can also see here an Archarian Muslim uprising in favor of Ottoman Turkey and further development as well. Here we can see the development of Russian counteroffensive and also Russian invasion of northern Persia or northern Iran. Further Russian successes can be seen here, and the culmination of Russian triumph. And the same dynamics on a bigger map. We can see again Russian invasion of Turkish-Armenian Lazistan and also in northern Persia. And we can see how from the southeast, slowly but surely, the British armies are advancing towards Baghdad. In the light of Russian triumph in Turkish Armenia, Lazistan and Eastern Anatolia in February-March of the year 1916, negotiations between Britain, France and Russia started in mid-April in London and ended up with signing a secret Sykes-Picot agreement that happened on the 16th of May of the same year. That convention, known nowadays as the Sykes-Picot Agreement, sometimes referred to as the Sazonov-Sykes-Picot Agreement, after being modified as a result of a series of Russian-British talks between March the 31st and September the 1st of the year 1916, confirmed Russia's claims for the Black Sea Straits and assigned to her not only the vilayets of Erzurum, Bitlis and Van, but also half of the vilayet of Trebizond and parts of Ulaziz and Diyarbakir. France was to gain half of the vilayet of Sivas, the remaining parts of Ulaziz and Diyarbakir, as well as the whole of Cilicia and Lebanon. France was also to obtain a considerable sphere of influence in Syria and northern Mesopotamia. Great Britain, the United Kingdom, was to be dominant in southern Mesopotamia and partially in Palestine. During the diplomatic exchanges preceding the signing of Sykes-Picot-Sazonov Agreement, both British and Russian representatives discussed various forms of Armenian autonomy in the region that was going to be taken away from Ottoman Turkey. However, the issue of any potential Georgian autonomy was not even addressed at all. So what did that mean for Georgia? By the spring of 1917, it became clear that most of historical Armenian lands and some historical Georgian lands that has still been in the possession of Ottoman Turkey before the war were going to be united under the Russian imperial crown. However, again, as I already said, no Georgian autonomy was even discussed. The situation in the Caucasus region and around it changed drastically in the spring of 1917. The Russian Empire collapsed, the country proclaimed itself a republic, and the Caucasus Front entered the stage of stagnation. The period between March 1917 and February 1918 was marked with the quick spreading of chaos all over the former Russian possessions and all over the Russian-occupied territories in Turkey. And in November 1917, the Bolshevik coup in St. Petersburg signaled another major political upheaval in the region. By that time, absolute majority of Russian imperial troops left the Caucasus Front, and on February the 2nd of the year 1918, the Ottoman Turkish forces launched massive counter-offensive. Well, here on this map we can see the offensive of the 3rd Turkish Army with the green arrows and the 4th Caucasian Corps. And as we can see on this map, the Russian imperial troops were replaced with the Georgian Corps, which is here marked with the blue color, with the Pontic Greek militias, and also the Armenian units, which are marked by a maroon color. As we can see on this map, having defeated scattered and poorly organized Georgian and Armenian units that replaced the Russians, the Ottoman armies quickly recovered all the territory previously lost to the Imperial Russia in the years 1915-1917, and more than that, they invaded the former Russian possessions in the Caucasus, conquering historical Armenian and Georgian lands. Meanwhile, the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, signed between the Bolsheviks and the Central Powers on March the 3rd of the year 1918, hit the final and terminal blow to the Caucasus front. Here we can see the old border between Ottoman Turkey and the Russian Empire, and the new border in red, on which the Bolsheviks and the Ottoman Turks agreed in Brest-Litovsk. The Ottoman invasion of the South Caucasus in 1918 signaled the disintegration of the Caucasus possessions of the former Russian Empire and finally the secession of the region from Russia. The end of April 1918 saw the proclamation of independent Transcaucasian Democratic Federal Republic. On this map it is marked with the yellow-orange color. Here it is on a bigger map. The major reason behind that was that both the political elite and general public of Georgian, Armenian, Russian, Greek and other Christian communities of the South Caucasus could not accept the provisions of that treaty that not only returned to Turkey all the territories that had been conquered by the Russian armies during the first years of the war, but also granted Ottoman Turks two territories, two oblasts, those of Batum and Kars. The proclamation of Transcaucasian independence did not stop the Ottoman invasion. The Turks continued their offensive even beyond the new border established by the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, thus threatening physical existence of Armenian people and also putting the existence of Georgian people in question. Here we can see that the Ottoman attacks went way beyond the red border into future Armenia and into future Georgia. Here a question may arise. Why were the Georgians so unsuccessful in their attempts to repel the Ottoman invasion in February-March 1918? Well, according to Hovhannisyan, it was largely a result of the subversive activity of Ottoman Turkish agents, who were trying to persuade the Georgian military personnel that the whole war was purely Turkish-Armenian strife and the Georgians were supposed to stay away from it. We should add to the above that unlike some patriotic and nationalist Georgian intellectuals, the majority of Georgian soldiers who were stationed around Trebizond, Ardasa and Gümüşhane were far from considering Lazistan or Lazona a part of Georgia. More than that, they were shocked and disappointed with the hostility of ethnic Laz people who were linguistically closely connected and related to the Georgians, but remained loyal Ottoman citizens, were hostile to the Georgians and even were shooting at them. Of course, that partially destroyed the morale of Georgian troops, who started rapidly retreating towards the old Russo-Turkish border of 1914. However, in April of the year 1918, when the danger of total absorption of all Georgian lands by the Ottoman Turkey became quite real, Georgian troops were quite successful. For example, during the 2 days long battle at the river Cholok near St. Nicholas Fortress, Georgians managed to defeat the units of the Ottoman Third Army. During that battle, the Ottomans lost 1,500 men killed only, and at least for a while they had to give up an idea of further expansion into western Georgia. Throughout May 1918, Georgian troops, together with the Armenian militias, relatively successfully repelled Ottoman invasion in the districts of Akhaltsikhe and Akhalkalaki. In early May, the Ottoman government finally agreed to conclude a new peace treaty with the now independent Transcaucasian Republic. The conditions of that treaty was way harsher though than those even of Brest-Litovsk, because in addition to the loss of Batum and Kars oblasts, the Transcaucasian Republic was supposed to give up more than half of the province of Yerevan, or gubernia of Yerevan, and the districts of Akhaltsikhe and Akhalkalaki, of the province of Tiflis. The end of May of the year 1918 saw the disintegration of the stillborn Transcaucasian Federation. Indeed, it has proven to be an unsuccessful experiment, largely to the absence of cohesion between the Christian and Muslim segments of the South Caucasian society. Well, when Georgians and Armenians desperately wanted peace and wanted to stop Ottoman expansion, at least at the Brest-Litovsk borders, the Azeri Turks and other Muslims of the Caucasus were rather interested in further expansion of the Turks so that they could help them establish themselves in the provinces of Yelisavetpol, Ganja, and Baku. By the end of the spring, Georgians, Armenians, and Azeri Turks came to understanding that their interests were incompatible and required separate courses of action. Accordingly, the Transcaucasian Federation fell apart on the 26th of May of the year 1918, when Georgia unilaterally proclaimed her independence, by the way under the influence of German diplomats. That declaration was followed by the declaration of independence of Armenia and Azerbaijan that occurred within the next 2 days. The declaration of Georgian independence was followed by the signing of 2 international treaties. The Agreement of Party, signed with Germany on the 28th of May of 1918, 2 days after the declaration of independence, and the Treaty of Batum with Ottoman Turkey. That one was signed on the 4th of June of the same year. Although both the above-mentioned treaties confirmed the loss of some historical Georgian territories, they were extremely important for the restoration of Georgian statehood, at least because they signaled the international recognition of Georgia, at least by the Central Powers, namely Germany, Turkey, Austria-Hungary, and Bulgaria. This map shows us how Georgia was supposed to look on the map in accordance with the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk and the Treaty of Party, which was even more important. Self-explanatory, it included Abkhazeti and Tskhinvali region, of course. But at the same time, it was missing Batumi. And on a bigger map, we can see that in the midst of the chaos of the end of the First World War and of Russian Revolution and the beginning of Russian Civil War, Georgia, United Georgia, appeared on the political map of the world. The Armistice of Mudros, signed on October the 30th of the year 1918, signaled the end of the First World War in the East Mediterranean region. It also opened the 26-month-long period of the build-up of restored Georgian statehood, which culminated in de jure recognition of Georgia by the Allied powers on the 26th of January 1921 at the Paris Peace Conference.